go get Monster Hunter.
Well, it's Sunday of week 4 at the LCS. I'm joined right now by Sneaky with coverage presented by Omni Slash. Sneaky, aren't you from Florida?
Yes.
And did you know that any LCS Finals are happening in Miami?
Oh yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Isn't that an interesting situation for you?
Well, I'm from Orlando specifically, but I started going to college for almost a year before I went pro in Boca Raton, which is really close to Miami. So, and I've visited a few times. Go to the beach there. It's a pretty cool city.
Would it be nice for you to compete there again?
Yeah, it'd be pretty amazing.
Okay.
Hometown, basically.
Yeah. Do you like that stuff? Because you're like forefront of that art that they made.
Oh yeah. Wait, I had like the sunglasses on, right? Yeah, I didn't know if that was me at first. I thought it was like Golden Glue or something, because it was like more blonde hair.
Yes.
And then.
But it's like, because the idea is that this is an alternate reality version of you where you spend a lot of time at the beach, and your hair has become bleached, I think, because of that.
Yeah, it's the polar opposite, because right now I cannot be outside in the sun.
Yeah. We had to do this in the shade because his skin started burning when we were in direct sunlight. It's very dangerous. All right. So anyway, but you're big on Miami. That'd be cool for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll enjoy it if I get to go.
Yeah, some players I think just like don't care about where they compete, but for you, I think it sounds like it'd be fun. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's talk about Cloud9. You guys still only lost one game. Yes, still only one game. Been paying attention, and that means that you guys are up at the top. I was talking to Jensen about this yesterday. It feels like you guys are always like the second storyline. People are like, oh, Immortals, oh, TSM, oh, Team Liquid. And then it's like you guys just chugging along, doing really, really well in LCS, and people aren't talking about it as much. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of that, for sure. I think it's like kind of warranted, because our NA like playoff success hasn't been as amazing as it was, like 2013, 2014. We haven't won since then. I mean, we got into finals a lot, but we haven't actually won it. So like, people are always talking about like the big roster moves instead. Like TSM was Venomythy and stuff. Yeah. It definitely makes sense to talk about those kind of topics, and like Liquid this year looks pretty huge with just their move overall, like completely revamping. So it makes sense for people to, put us just aside a little bit. But I'm glad we're able to prove ourselves here and show that we're a strong team.
Do you think it's almost a good thing? Because in talking to both Sven, your teammate, not Sven, and Björg from TSM over, I think both those interviews were last week. Maybe the Sven ones before. Anyway, the conversation was kind of about the pressure that's on TSM from the fans and the expectations and how stressful it can be versus Cloud9, where it's a little less like that. Do you think that sort of the fact that all the focus on these other teams lightens the load on you guys? Maybe it's a good thing?
I'm not entirely sure, honestly, because I think on every team there's always expectations to do well. Like, I don't think it's any more so for TSM, really. I think that's just pressure they'd put on themselves, honestly.
What about the fans, right? Because the fans are the ones that are chasing, they lose a couple games in the beginning and the fans all act like the world is falling, whereas you guys would, if you lost a couple games, I don't think people would be like hitting the panic button.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's different because of the roster situation, I think. Whereas we didn't take like a huge leap. We kind of just like stayed the same. Yeah. And then like, people were saying we got like side upgrades or whatever. Whereas TSM is like, okay, they got the best bot lane in the West, and it's like they're supposed to do well. So it makes sense for them to like rage about that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any extra like pressure on them besides just pressure they put on themselves. Like, we have to win these weeks. We have to win. But I think like literally every team is trying to say that to themselves, because the regular season is very important for playoffs and seeding.
There was on the alt stream yesterday, one of the other NALCS 80 carries was a part of it, and he was saying that accepting himself, he feels like you and Smoothie and then Sven and Mythy are probably the best bot lanes in North America, and that he has a hard time deciding how, because you guys, I think it's something like you guys make bigger plays, but they make less mistakes or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so he doesn't know how to rate which one he gets. Do you agree with that assessment, that you guys in the TSM bot lane are perhaps the best if you ignore the Team Liquid bot lane?
If I ignore them?
Well, only because he was not counting his bot lane in that equation. Maybe a better way to ask this question is, I want to ask you, where do you rank you guys compared to the other bot lanes in North America?
Well, for me personally, I never really look to kind of rate myself against my colleagues.
Yeah.
I kind of only ever look to just improve myself
Yeah.
and kind of just see where I am. I mean, there are some games, like I guess in scrims where you just feel like it's really hard to get advantages against your opponent. But for me personally, it never feels like there's anyone that's just like a block that's just stopping me and I can't get past them. Like it always feels more push towards like matchup things. Like if we just start losing like every 2v2 in a scrim set, you're like, okay, like are these matchups just that bad? And it never feels like, okay, we're just playing everything terribly. Like they're just that much better. Yeah. That's kind of how I think of it. Yeah, I think that's honestly the better way to think of things like that. I mean, obviously it does come down to individual play with those matchups because you can be in a bad matchup and end up winning out in some things like that. But just for me personally, that's kind of how I think of it. So to rate myself against like other bot lanes like that, it's just like weird for me. I mean, I would always want to think that we are the best, but that's just because I'm always trying to improve as much as I can with my smoothie.
With your smoothie.
Yeah.
That's very cute. Is that, do you call him your smoothie? It's like you're a bot lane, it's like, hey, you're my smoothie.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, where is my smoothie at?
Aggressively?
Why is my smoothie in the top lane?
Oh, okay.
You're bot lane support.
That's very, so I thought it was going to be endearing the way you call him this, but it sounds like it's much more aggressive.
Yeah, it's definitely aggressive.
Okay, so let's put it this way. So you would like to think that you guys are the best.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick between facing off against TL's bot lane or TSM's bot lane, who would you pick and why?
Just from scrims, I think TL's bot lane's harder. Initially, when TSM bot lane came from Europe or whatever, they were playing really well, and it felt like I was talking about, like really hard to get advantages on them, and they were playing like all the matchups super well. But I think as the weeks have gone by, they like lost confidence in themselves, so it feels like they're not pushing leads as much as they used to before. Like a trend I actually noticed in scrims was Sven literally would never recall, and it would be really annoying because he would just always get like the extra push on me, and then I would lose minions rather than him. Yeah. So I started adapting to that, but like the most recent like week or two, I mean I didn't play in the scrims last week, but like recently when I played him, he wasn't doing any of that anymore. It felt like he wasn't as confident in his own play, I guess. So yeah. I definitely say I'd rather play against TSM's bot lane.
Okay. Wait, you'd rather play against TSM's bot lane because they're less confident right now, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, given that you would like to think of yourself as the best bot lane in North America, it's probably safe to say that you spend a lot of time playing League of Legends and you're really dedicated to improving, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Why?
As a completely unrelated question, I was curious, how many hours have you put into Monster Hunter and since it came out?
Quite a lot. I'll play like in between scrim games, like when we're waiting for the team to get in the lobby.
Okay.
And I'll play for like an hour or so after scrims, just to like chill. And a little bit before as well. It's a really fun game. Yeah. Like I'll do that with any game I'm like interested in, like during season, or off season. Before, I was playing like WoW when that was out, Fortnite, like tons of stuff. I like to keep myself balanced on games because it's a big passion of mine. Video gaming.
Yes,
I love
video
it.
gaming is good. Now, Golden Glue gave me that information. He was like, you should ask him how much he's played Monster Hunter. But I like that you couched it as, yes, I'm playing Monster Hunter a lot between scrims while I'm waiting for Q. It's very good. Is there anything that you would like to say to any of the fans out there?
Go get Monster Hunter.
You can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Hey, thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Wait, you haven't yet? Well, you should, because these LCS interviews are brought to you by OmniSlash. They're going to be here all season long. So make sure you subscribe.